Alright, hello everyone. It's been a while. Apologize for a delay in anything going up here the last week and a half or so. 2 weeks, I think it is now. A lot of stuff going on, but whatever. I'm trying to get this back to normal here the next week or so. Just got a background video since, for whatever reason, I can't just put up a podcast now. So just have this in the background, try to keep it under 15 minutes since YouTube is back to limiting how long my videos can be. So I'm going to look at a couple of things here. Recap Block 1. Look at the games played. Look at the games that have been played in Block 2 as well. And then kind of some cup stuff, some stat stuff, player of the week, those kind of things. So first up, take a look at Week 1 in the games played. I don't have the sheet that has them in order for the pick 'em, rank 'em, pick 'em thing, so just go in the order that they were on the stat site. So first, the battle of the brothers, Johnny and Weasel. Michigan State picks up the road win 42-10. Bell, who's a player to watch, Maxwell's going to pass the ball well. We'll start with him, I guess. He went 20-23 for 323 yards and 6 touchdowns. So Drew definitely doing what he does and doing it well, but Bell keeping the offense balanced with 99 yards on the ground. A good start for the Spartans, and I'm sure he probably takes a lot of pleasure in beating little brother for the win. Second, you've got Iowa losing by a point to Ohio at home. Combined 12 turnovers by both teams, 6 apiece, evenly split. And Iowa was up 28-13 into the fourth quarter, so not able to hold on to the lead there, giving up 16 points. You got Illinois on the road against Notre Dame, 21-40. Sadly, Notre Dame is 4-0, and they've definitely had their hands all over the Big Ten this year so far in those wins. But for Illinois, Nate, 346 yards passing, but 4 interceptions, which definitely made it difficult to win. And Golson, 14 for 247 and 2 touchdowns for the Fighting Irish. And you got Nebraska at home, losing to Stanford 24-38. Taylor, who's I've got to feel the wrath of as well, so I'm sure Rain can share in his frustration with dealing with him. 211 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. And as far as running the ball, Burkhead can run the ball. You've got Martinez that can run. So kind of looking at it in my mind, I was thinking a quarterback battle, how many points you could get out of the position would be a big deal. And surprisingly, Stanford was able to win that battle 21-0. At least, direct points, as Nottingham had 3 touchdown passes, though he did have 2 picks. Martinez had none. And you got Michigan at home against Virginia, 28-7. The defense for the Wolverines played very well, forced 3 interceptions and held the Cavaliers to 16 yards on the ground. So good start defensively for them. In Battle of Indiana, Florida, you've got Penn State at South Florida, and Noel takes the loss 34-36 after driving down for what seemed to be the game-winning field goal. He ends up giving up the game-winning field goal, kind of like the Washington and Giants game on Sunday. Turnover battle was lost by Penn State 6-4. Both teams combined for 902 yards of offense, so the ball is moving a lot in that game. And of course, the big one that I'm sure everyone knows about, so I don't even really have to touch on it too much. Virginia Tech continues their streak on this year's game, and, just really from winning their championship, multiple. It was 41-38. Ball, though, was able to have 109 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And, like I said, it's been said already. If you somehow haven't seen it, then you can just go ahead and look on the stats site and sum up the game pretty well. Northwestern on the road against Washington State, a loss 13-42. In the second and third quarter combined, Northwestern gave up 35 points. That really is going to hurt, along with the fact that they turned the ball over 5 times. So really, not really, just the momentum, not able to really stop it in the middle of the game from things getting out of hand. And lastly, for games played, Ohio State in Stimpin's debut as the Buckeye coach take a road win against Wyoming, 38-21. Though Wyoming did have 8 sacks, Ohio State was able to do enough offensively to get the job done. Their tight end, Mr. Jake, had 7 receptions for 102 yards. So that is all for week 1. Moving on to week 2. We have BYU picking up a road win against Northwestern, 28-7. Though Northwestern was able to knock out the starting quarterback, who I can't remember his name at the time. Quarterbacks combined for 21-26 for 226 for BYU. Northwestern, on the other hand, negative 12 yards rushing. Those sacks helped. Their running back had 0 yards, so not able to really keep the offense balanced to take the pressure off the passing game. You got Penn State against Utah State. Noel and Big Red playing their annual game. Penn State is able to get the win at home, 28-13. They scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter to kind of salt the game away some. It's pretty close throughout. You had Brown come up with 2 touchdown receptions. He had 4 receptions on the day for 85 yards. And Red on the ground, 119 yards with a touchdown to keep the balance. Notre Dame again, a Big Ten game. They pick up a win against Purdue. Purdue playing at home, 34-10. 3 turnovers by the Boilermakers, and Notre Dame got some help. Purdue's defense actually did play pretty well, but they got a kick return and a defensive interception for a touchdown. So Notre Dame able to help find points elsewhere to get a win against a scrappy team. Michigan State on the road against Texas State, win 31-16. The defense, 7 sacks to go along with 2 interceptions. And Arnett, one of the favorite targets of Maxwell. I mean, pretty much anyone that's on the field is. He had 3 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. Got Indiana, their opening game, a shutout win on the road against UMass, 10-0. Though they turned the ball over 5 times, the offense still was able to put up 398 yards, 186 on the ground, 212 through the air. And lastly, in week 2, Wisconsin bouncing back, 41-7 win at home against Mississippi State. It was a 17-7 game at the half, and they put up 24-0 in the second half. Defensively, 6 interceptions and 6 sacks on the day, so getting a lot done. And that's all for week 2. So week 3, for the games that are played, I, again, don't have my paper with the pick 'em, rank 'em, but at least I put them in order on this. So of the 5 that were played, starting at the bottom, I'll have to go through and re-list all that stuff. I really need to add that stuff up anyway. You've got Nebraska at Georgia Tech, and Nebraska gets to win 24-10 to move to 1-1 on the year. Burkhead on the ground, 167 yards on 23 carries with 2 touchdowns. Defensively, 128 yards allowed and 2 interceptions. Number 4 would be Texas Tech at Wisconsin. Not the prettiest game, but the Badgers get the win 31-24 to move to 2-1. The defense for Wisconsin, 8 sacks and 7 forced turnovers. Third, you've got Army in Minnesota, and their opening, their first played game of the season. Minnesota gets the win 28-24, back and forth game. They would take the lead with 2:15 as Gray would hit Molden for a 41-yard touchdown, and they also would get a team effort. A defensive touchdown in the third quarter, I believe it was a pick 6, and a kick return in the second quarter. And actually, maybe it's another game. Molden had 2 TDs. I don't remember, but a balanced effort and a back and forth, so exciting game to watch. Number 2 would be Purdue at Louisiana Tech. And Purdue dropped the game 7-27 to drop to 0-2 on the year. Passing day, definitely one of those days to forget, as Marv had 7 interceptions. And even with the 7 picks, it still was a close game until the fourth quarter. It was 10-7 going into the fourth, and Louisiana Tech would score 17 in the fourth to produce nothing and start to pull away there. And lastly, Notre Dame picking up a win at home against Weasel as Michigan State drops 2-1, 38-21 loss. Kind of the same type of thing. It was a 21 all game at the half, and Michigan State would be unable to score in the second half. Notre Dame would score 17. The offense for the Spartans, 6 turnovers, and they got gas on the ground, a balanced effort, 171 yards altogether. Oh, moving to week 4, same thing here with the 8 games played. So starting at the bottom, you've got Wisconsin picking up a road win, 34-0 against at Central Michigan to improve to 3-1. Defense for Wisconsin, 5 sacks, 4 picks, 127 yards allowed. O'Brien completing 2/3 of his passes for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. Number 7, you've got Penn State at Ball State, and Noel picks up the win, 31-14 to improve to 2-1. Red with 157 total yards and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, 5 picks and 2 sacks, so getting the job done. After giving up an opening score. Number 6, you've got Minnesota again in a close game, and that's the one I was looking for there. They win 20-14 to improve to 2-0. It's Harbison with 2 TD grabs in the second half, 53 and 15 yards, and Minnesota would have a 10-point fourth quarter to overcome the 4-point deficit to pull out the win. At 5, you got Purdue on the road against Miami, and Purdue falls 10-20, and they drop to 0-3. But the offense did have a balanced attack, able to keep the ball going or clock going by keeping the ball on the ground effectively. But again, Marv, not a great game. 3 of 12, 103, a touchdown, 2 picks, and the backups would add 2 picks to it. So losing the turnover battle there played a factor in the close game. Number 4, you got Iowa going to play Georgia, and they lost 52-17, so Iowa drops to 0-2. Just one of those games. The Georgia offense was on point. As a team, they had 444 yards on offense, and Murray 15 of 18 for 289 and 5 touchdowns. So it seemed like just one of those games, not really able to slow down that attack. 3, you've got Nebraska at Louisville, and they pick up the win 23-13, improve to 2-1. So, of course, it's always nice to see Louisville lose as a Kentucky fan. Taylor, 12 of 14 with a touchdown. Defensively, Nebraska 4 sacks, hold the Cardinals to -2 yards rushing, and force 3 interceptions. 2, we have Miami of Ohio playing at Northwestern, and Victim was not able to pick up the win. They lose 15-34, so Northwestern drops 0-3. Miami of Ohio is up 31-0 at half, so the Wildcats had a hard time getting out the gates in this one, and Coulter did not help matters with 4 interceptions. And lastly, we got Notre Dame at Michigan, 16-13 ball game there. Notre Dame picking up the win, so Michigan drops to 1-1. Defensively, Michigan allowed no yards rushing and forced 2 interceptions, which is good. Helped keep the game close throughout. They were down, I believe it was 16-6 in the fourth quarter, and a fumble by Wood would be cashed in by the offense for a touchdown to cut the lead to 3, but they were unable to get an onside kick, and that would be how that game would end. So since I'm getting close to 15 here, I'm going to go ahead and take a break and cut this video and try to get this uploaded while I get the second one going with the rest of the stuff. So hold on a second.